Good afternoon. As part of Adamson and Partners Leadership Insight series, where we interview luminaries from the IP and legal industries, today I have the great pleasure of speaking with Charlotta Ljungdahl, recently appointed Head of Intellectual Property and Group Senior Vice President of ABB, a leading global technology company that energizes the transformation of society and industry to achieve a more productive and sustainable future. Good afternoon, Charlotta. Many thanks for joining me. How are you?
Good afternoon, Chris. I'm fine. Great to see you again.
Thank you very much, Charlotta. And again, thank you for joining me this afternoon and participating in our leadership series interviews. So firstly, you made the decision to change positions in the summer of 2020. Given that we were very much in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis at the time, did you harbour any concerns as to whether this may be the right time to move?
In the summer of 2020, when I made my decision, it wasn't so bad, the COVID situation. It looked pretty bright. It was summer. The numbers were going down, so it didn't feel so dire. But regardless of that, I don't think my decision would have changed. I thought about the long term and the medium term aspects of it, and I felt and I still feel that COVID is a short term problem, and I don't think it should sway those decisions. I wanted to see where do I want to be in my career and with my family in 5 years from now. Wow. And that was what really answered my question on that.
Sure. So in terms of what really swayed your decision, it was very much the career opportunity, was it, as you saw it?
Yes, I think that this career opportunity was really one that was very unique, and it felt like it was really made for me. And those don't come along every day or even every year. So it would have been very short-sighted to just say no to that based on a potential, based on a pandemic, basically. That's how I felt about it.
Yeah. And given the ongoing situation with COVID, obviously, as you said, I know you mentioned there that it is short-term, but of course it continues to to be a factor for everyone and affect everyone. Do you have any advice for senior people who may be currently contemplating a move based on your experience?
Yeah, based on my experience, which is of course all I can think of, is I really think that, and when you're senior, you really need to think about where do I want to be in 5 years, and if you have a really good opportunity coming, the best time to change jobs, as I think many people know, it is when you're happy in your current position. And then, but when you see an opportunity come across and you can make a calm decision about this is what is good for me and my family, that is really, I think you should take your chances on that. And what I would advise is, there are of course practical concerns with COVID, but those are perfectly negotiable. I would say anybody who wants to hire a senior executive today, they're very serious about hiring, I would guess. And they understand the situation. So if you have moving constraints or school constraints with your children or anything else, I think people are willing to work with that, your new employer. So I would say negotiate that up front. It's not going to be a hurdle.
Yeah. Okay. And so, I mean, from what you're saying, then it's the ability to maybe sort of compartmentalize things, put COVID to one side, and very much focus on your career, as you said, your family as well, and obviously on the basis that we hope to come out of this as soon as possible. But it's very much to focus those and channel those energies really in your career and what's best for you and your family.
Yeah, I think that's really that's what I would suggest, because otherwise you will regret it once we're out of this, if it's such a unique opportunity, of course.
Yeah, okay. And having spent over 20 years, Charlotta, the vast majority of your career at your previous company, Air Liquide, how much of a challenge has it been to integrate yourself into a completely different company culture and a new country? Because obviously you lived and worked in France for so long, this opportunities in Switzerland, and the combination of the two, really. How big a challenge has that been for you?
Yeah, so country-wise, I'm still between countries. I'm still living between. So I'm supposed to move countries, but I'm still living in France, where I've been for a while. But I don't feel company-wise and culture-wise, country-wise, it's been no problem at all. Even though I worked for a long time in France, I also worked in the US before, so I'm quite used to cultural changes and challenges. And moving to ABB into my team has been absolutely no issue at all. I felt very welcome by my leadership and by my team. I haven't looked back once, to be honest with you, even though I still stay in touch with my old teammates, of course, but I haven't regretted it for 1 minute. I feel totally integrated from the first week when I was in quarantine, actually. So they loaded me up with a lot of meetings, virtual meetings. So I'm still yet to meet people physically, but I feel like I know them. I've known them for years almost. That's
a very good position to be in. So quickly into your appointment, Charlotte. And what is it about the sort of welcome there? You mentioned that you feel like you've been there a long time, you've integrated very quickly, been made to feel very welcome. What has it been about what ABB have done for you that has made you feel so welcome?
I think it's a company that, again, I've only been there. I'm coming up to my first 100 days, but I feel that it is so totally international that there's the culture is so global that there are no hang-ups, if I may say so, about where you're from, what your diploma is, what your native language is. Everybody is there they're very focused on the job. And I also think that it becomes everybody has been very friendly with me. I can just say that I was very welcomed. My first day I had to sit in quarantine for the first 10 days, and the first thing is I received a big bouquet of flowers as a welcome present. I thought that really was a kind gesture, and I just think it's been warm, accessible people. That's how I feel about my colleagues and teammates.
And presumably that sort of really ensured and facilitated your transition into the role. I mean, to have that sort of welcome, because everyone to a certain degree goes through a period of trepidation, don't they, or an apprehension as to a new position. How's it going to be, both culturally, the company and so forth. But presumably to have sort of had that, had that approach from, or received that sort of warmth and approach from ABB, has that really facilitated your, your transition into the role?
I think so, because I can only imagine that if you don't feel that you get such a warm welcome, it must be feeling very isolating when you're 100% virtual. But it hasn't felt like that at all. I feel like I'm part of the family from day one, and it's really thanks to the company. So maybe that's a message to leaders, to future employers, that they really need to make that effort to get people starting really, really strong, really loading them up with meetings and thinking about these people need to be integrated right away.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it's always something that we discuss a lot with our clients, inductions and integrations and so forth. And I think it's very easy, should I say, to overlook that fact. And no matter how senior or less experienced the person, at any level, it's so important to make them feel welcome and to ensure that the necessary steps are taken to integrate them into the business, that they are effectively put in contact and exposed to the right people within the business from day one. And I think clearly some companies do that a lot better than others. But as you said, I think a lot of, and from an advisory perspective, it is so important, isn't it, to do that, and shouldn't be underestimated.
It should not be underestimated, and I think if you do it well, if you set those meetings up, these rotations for the first 2 weeks, and I think then you can just imagine that the person is so much more autonomous afterwards. I built my network during my 10-day quarantine, and it made me much more autonomous than what could have been the case.
Yeah, it sounds like you put your quarantine to exceptional use there.
Yes.
That's probably one of the best. I mean, if anyone needed some inspiration as to how to extol the virtues of quarantine, you've certainly done that. So congratulations. And similarly, I mean, how big a challenge has it been for you to come into a new market sector? I mean, obviously leaving aside a new company and so forth, but to come into a new sector and so forth, has that been a big challenge for you, or do you feel that you've seamlessly sort of assimilated yourself into that?
I think that I know that I have so much more to learn about the market and the business, because I haven't really had so much chance to go around, obviously, and really feel the company. But the company is in big transformation right now. So I came in at a good time when the CEO is introducing the ABB way, which is a complete reorganization. With that, the IP is the difficulties. Leading a global IP team is it's not shockingly different at ABB than it is at Air Liquide. The challenges are different, but they're not something I haven't seen before. So that's not at all, hasn't been difficult. It's just new problems, more inspiring, more interesting for me now. But strategy-wise, it's also interesting because what I'm being asked to do is, along with this transformation of the group, is to accompany the IP strategy has to accompany that. So we are in plain transformation. So they're actually asking me to come in and create something new. So it's for me to take the reins on that with my team.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have, presumably you do, a sort of an idea in mind as to the type of person that will fit into this transformation, this new look sort of department, this new look team, Charlotta?
Yeah, I think, and this sounds like what everybody's saying, but what many companies are saying. But what we're really pushing is, and we're doing it with real actions. We are putting together a new structure in the IP team where we have integrated strategy leads into each business area, and making sure that we have a strong, so we're not working in silos, of course, but we're becoming much more concentrated on each business area and working close with the chief technology officers and other stakeholders. So it's all about becoming closer to the business and decision makers.
Yeah. And finally, thank you very much for that, Charlotta. Very illuminating. What and where are the biggest IP issues which you see ABB facing in the next few years?
Oh, I think it's going to be, it's going to be around how do we transform ourselves in, continue to transform during the digital transformation, leveraging AI. I think it's everything that we talked about also in my old company, but, trying to really monetize directly or indirectly our IP, putting our IP to value in a more digital world. And transforming it from patent portfolios into IP portfolios, and making sure my team is up to that challenge, that we are really well-rounded in everything, the whole dynamic IP evolution.
Indeed. Well, Charlotta, thank you very much for that. Very enlightening. Obviously you have a huge amount to accomplish in your position. Here at Adamson Partners, we'd like to wish you all the best with your new role. And of course, look forward to continuing our relationship with you. And thank you again for taking the time this afternoon to talk with us.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Chris. It's been a pleasure.
No problem. Thank you very much.